Hello there everybody and welcome back to episode 7 of my Factorial tutorial series. So what we're going to do today, we'll go a really long way in the development of our factory. We're going to expand. So in between this and the previous episode, I did plant down this little radar panel here, and well, our factory at this point is doing quite okay, if I dare say so. We can defend ourselves, we have everything we require for the sake of expansion in itself, but we do have quite some deficiencies when it comes down to knowing where to expand right now. So I have today on my plate, well, I want to show you a little bit of how to do the exploration part, and we're going to evaluate where to expand, how to expand. Things are a little bit obscure for this episode, but I think, well, it's a necessary evil, so to speak. So we're leaving our base one more time because we're going far out into the east. I want to go a little bit further than the last time. So I have spotted during my radar operations this iron ore patch here. It is pretty big as far as we can see. We also have a pretty nice oil patch right next to that, and we've already discovered some stone. Enough for the rest of our gameplay. As far as I can see, this should suffice. Vanilla Factorio doesn't require you to have insane amounts of stone available, so this should do the trick. Down here we have 2.1 million units of coal, and, well, this is almost everything we require, except for one thing: we're still lacking copper. We have even a bit of an iron ore patch here. Pretty excellent stuff, but I want to plot down a couple of extra radar stations now. So this time we're working with the big electric pole. I want to introduce to you this wonderful, magnificent friend of efficiency. Check this out. So with these power poles, we don't need to worry too much about the range anymore between these two. It's all fine and dandy with those. But we're also now reaching into the area of the world where it's not all polluted and bad, where actually nature is still blooming and blossoming. This is, well, pretty annoying to build. As you see there, these trees are literally everywhere, and well, if we keep walking through the forest stubbornly while dodging trees, but I'm holding down the left mouse button while I'm doing this, you notice that the game does place down a power pole wherever it can. And you noticed even it paused and put it back there. Quality of life of Factorio is godlike. Here you see why. Okay, we're placing down the radar panel behind the forest and get ourselves some more vision. Check this out. There's even more iron back there. Alright. But there's also some biters around the corner, so we better secure this perimeter. I mean, at the end of the day, there's not much lost if you lose a radar panel or a radar station like these. It's easily replaceable. I got some walls in my pocket, so I am going to be quite generous here and just give that like a little bit of defenses on the way. Because I have already pretty much decided that we're definitely going to work back here. This is, at the very least, going to be where we're grabbing our iron from. As, you know, how much better should it possibly get? So we're now going to go and expand our line of sight here. I always do it something like this, that I decide to go for the very first direction that looks promising, like in this regard. I mean, this is one magnificent ore patch, and yeah, we're going to go a little bit further down. I'm afraid I will run out of big electric poles on the way, but maybe not. We'll see. Alright, so as a matter of fact, it's just the right amount. Alright, there we go. So I really don't have much ammunitions left over for these big boys, but whatever. I guess they'll get eaten eventually anyways. Alright, so for situations like these, you notice that walking does take quite a gosh darn long time. That is why we're going to discover now ourselves some cars. So the radar panels that we plucked down here will do some working for us and find out whether or not we will find the copper that we require back here or not. So checking back with my energy grid, we're doing quite fine. There can be a little bit more on this on the grid, but well, we will have to expand our steam power rather sooner than later. Obviously, the game offers way more ways of producing power than just burning coal. We're going to explore these a little bit later, of course. All in all, I just wanted to talk about here as well that what we have in mind here, the general goal of the game of launching a rocket, is not requiring you to build a gigafactory that will blow your mind and make you go crazy. As a matter of fact, we're just going to build one ordinary factory that teaches you all the ropes to build a gigafactory one day, or at least that's the idea. But if you just want to play through the game, you really don't need excessive amounts of factory to do so. And we also see that our walls are being damaged on the northern side. Not too cool. We need to do something about that eventually. Alright, let's pick up some clips. Or magazines, as I've been told, is the correct thing to say. So, I don't know why some people got that mad in the topic that I read recently, but they did. They didn't like them called clips for whatever reason. Anyways, I'm digressing. So we're going to go now and start working on sealing off the perimeter. I got myself the gate technology uncovered, and, well, I'm not going to mass produce gates, because I personally think you need such a low amount of these that it's hardly worth it. Alright, so with gates we now have the opportunity to just make it a box to hide in. As you can see here, gates can be just like that, can be widened just like you want them. Like everything in Factorio, gates are very, very modular. Alright, turns out we require some extra iron plate. Let's get that done. And the next thing that I want to do and work on is to make this factory really bulletproof. And check this out. The first attack on one of our radar panels. The thing is, don't worry if these die. They are, as a matter of fact, only a preliminary thing anyways, because you only require them for as long as it takes to scan your environments. Once that's done, they actually can die. It's not that much of a big deal. Alright, so you see me here, walling myself absolutely in. Can you believe it? I actually did hit exactly the proper angle. I'm amazed. Alright, so we need to fix this, obviously. And here we go. So our base is now safe-ish, almost. We do need to slap in a bit more wall over there. But altogether, I personally think it pays off a lot to wall yourself in once you can afford it and once you have the basics of exploration done. So for me, my personal verdict here, for example, was I wanted to have the radar panels down before I started working on the inner perimeter. This way, my radar panels do some heavy lifting while I am doing the stuff in here. It's personally what I think is extremely valuable to do so. So I'm going to slap down a couple of gates into my pocket, handcraft a few more, so we have always a door in our pocket when we need it. Alright, so I want to do another little thing that might be a little bit overscoped for this little site, but I want to do it nevertheless. So we're going to automate now the refeeding of our gun turrets, because I personally must say I am tired of hand refilling, so here goes. It is a nice and neat thing that I personally just also want to show off for the sake of doing it. You see, it's pretty important that you can see what I'm talking about. So it's a very simple thing. You just weave a belt alongside of your turrets, and every turret must receive, of course, a powered inserter. So whenever there is something to pick up, or they need whenever the gun turrets need some reload, they can't just pick it up. So this does take a while to weave it around your base, but it also gives you the opportunity to just upgrade your grid of defenses whenever you want to. And I personally like that. So we're also going to research next railways, because trains will help us tremendously in getting our logistics sorted. Trains are massive in terms of moving one good to another place. Conveyor belts, as we use them here, well, technically, you can use them as a transport ways and means whatever. You could make a belt only base if you wanted to, but at the end of the day, the the longer the belt connection grows, the less efficient it goes, because the belt is basically acting kind of like a chest. So what I'm trying to get down to is that if you have kilometers of belt, it does require a lot of stuff to build that belt. It is almost like you have a long-winded container of materials that flows around, but it still boils down to you need a lot of stuff to keep the machine rolling. Just like you see it already here, there will be a lot of magazines on this build before this thing is even remotely done. So what this also means is we're now going to produce way more magazines than we ever did before, because this thing will just produce magazines until the whole belt here is filled. End of the story. And yeah, that can be kind of an issue. I'm pretty sure you can follow my train of thought here. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it also provides safety for your base, which is also wildly important. So yeah, every build that you go for will always have caveats, downsides, upsides. There is no such thing as a perfect build. Don't ever get into that misassumption that something like that really exists, because you will always find something that you either want to do better, or something where you feel like it is better suited for that specific job. Because this is also one thing that you have to see, that, well, every situation has the right tool for itself, so to speak. So here I'm going a little bit narrower here, so we can plot down the turrets, something like there. So yeah, this does take a while to set up, but yeah, it goes a long way in keeping your base safe. There we go. Hand feeding the turrets now that I am currently not able to auto feed, because you see, the empty turret is absolutely worthless. And the goal of this entire thing is going to be to wind back on itself. So we're going to have a looping. So, whoopsie, that is not what I want to do. Lol. So that happens when you put down the inserters into the wrong direction. Then the turrets unload themselves. Fun, isn't it? Alright, so we can weave that now past this little corner here. And we ran out of belt. Let's see. This was a pretty dire situation. Obviously showing that we need way more gun capacity over here. So our actions have consequences, as you see there. We're now going to research also flammables, because that will unlock some ways and means to deal with our consequences better. So let's repair that place. As you can see, that one turret here had a lot of trouble in fighting back these baddies, but the good part about it is this turret now is automatically fed with new bullets, and we can just give him some company. And once you have a grid like that set up, Yes, it is quite some hustle to get it going, but eventually, as you see, we can just add in turrets wherever we want and can just expand on what we got very, very easily. And this is why I like this kind of build. Surely, there are better options. We're going to explore these as well later down the road, but I personally feel like this is a pretty solid way of putting some stopping power into your factory. All right. The well, we're going to make it like that. The real downside of this all is that you have now to bring in electricity everywhere, and eventually, when biters also come with ranged units, this comes with its own caveats. As you see, your what's it called? Your power poles, yes, the power poles, they can get attacked. And that means that you also will have to keep these somehow secure. But we'll be talking about that once it's time for it. Alrighty, so let's loop it back into itself. And so we created the endless Ouroboros of ammo. So this is a pretty nifty thing. At the end of the day, we have now an endless sushi belt of ammo. It's just running around our base. Like I have said, though, the big downside is that we're now henceforth going to produce all the magazines it requires to fill that belt, which will be quite a lot. But yeah, I personally prefer it like that. So let's check back with the radar department. Did we find anything that we really wanted to find? So the answer is we're still waiting to find some copper. We did find some uranium though, and even more iron down there. It is insane. So this little place back here is under heavy pressure. So one of the patrols, namely from this camp back here, does cross the path there time and time again. That's pretty nasty, but sometimes you just build a radar station that is just in the trajectory of the biters. You can't help that. Alright, let's research all the necessary little parts for trains, and before we head out back there again, we're going to build ourselves a car. Cars require engine units. Engine units can't be crafted by hand. Yeah. So we're going to go for a very simplistic approach here. We're just going to use the machinery like that, and we'll hand feed it with what we got, but I'm afraid we'll need a few more pipes. No biggie, as we have that pre-produced. And a couple of iron gear wheels, but as you see here, that is also not much of a big deal. Alright, so we're there and there. Personally, I do like to do it like this because it will take a while until we really need engines. And as much as we could now start mass producing these bad boys, well, it wouldn't do that much of a service to us. So instead, we're now pre-producing those engines, so a next stroll out there can be a motorized one. Generally, a car is really cool as it is a drivable treasure trove. You have a really huge inventory on it, and they also have weaponry. Well, it's gonna be fun, you'll see. Alright, we now go down there and craft ourselves another radar panel because I forgot to bring. And I'm going to drop down yet another radar dish south of us, because I really need to find out where we can safely harvest copper. We can do some research into the northern direction eventually, but we'll need to kill some biters first, and I didn't want to do this on a side note on a video. I wanted to do this as the main gig, showing off how we kill the biters with our given tools right now. So that'll be... this is on the list. You see, I'm done with being bullied by biters. So the downside though is for every biter nest that you destroy, eventually the biters will come back. and if I remember correctly, they also evolve faster and hotter the more nests you destroy. I think the mechanic worked like that, but correct me where I stand wrong, please, dear comment section. So, down here we are now... Whoa, is there all okay up here? Yeah, it is. So let's check back with our radar situation. Yeah, one more. You see, I'm always kind of nervous at this point of the game already to leave the base alone, and I would have saved the game preemptively if I wouldn't have such a fond trust in my defense grid. Famous last words. So we have a big patch of iron back there and a big patch of uranium. I want to go sideways for the uranium patch because this is an excellent opportunity for us to scout out a nuclear power source. Uranium is a finicky thing. You can't mine it regularly. You will need to even put up special methods of mining, but I just realized we're not gonna. There's just that biter nest around the corner here, and I don't feel ready for that. We don't even have armor currently. We need to fix that ASAP. There we go, and you see there, parts of our defense grid are working fantastically, parts of it are not. Okay, next research, sulfur. Sulfur leads into the next tier of technologies, as we will then get closer to the entire, or we are researching plastic on the way with that. Plastic is basically the progression material that we are after when we are starting out with the oil processing technology, but there's a lot of other wonderful things that we can do with oil. You can also use it to power your steam engines, for example, by producing fuel blocks out of it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's head back home and build ourselves a car there. The car will be a huge help here in exploring the world, because as you see, it is growing tiresome to move from one point of the map to another. There are a couple of other things that you can do to alleviate the pain. Stone bricks, for example, increase the walking speed, so the stuff that we're using for the walls can be also put onto the ground. So, to give you a quick example of what I'm talking about, let's pick up a couple of stone bricks, and you can just slap them on the ground like that. And just like this, you become faster. It's a very useful little thing. We might be even using this inside of the perimeter. Eventually, that is. Alright. Let's see. And you can already see there's ammo riding along the belt, because every turret is configured automatically to merely pick up 10 magazines and not more. So it's become clear that this part of the defense line is not hardened enough, so let's change something about that. Brilliant. So just like that, we can now expand on our defenses wherever needed. I'm quite happy with that system. Yes, it does cost a tremendous amount of build. Yes, it does buffer a pretty hefty amount of ammo production, but at the same time, it keeps your turf safe, and I like it for this quality. Alright, we have now gotten together 15 engine units. I'll just keep that bad boy working here, because at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing to have a couple of engines in your pocket. We could handcraft a locomotive with this eventually, or stuff like that. Let's head back to the car. It does require some steel plates. No biggie, we got that. There we go. So, the car. It is, for some people, a nightmare. For some, it is a godsend. I'm personally a big fan of the car. So, we put coal inside there, and this thing just drives with coal. That is a really, really cool thing, isn't it? So, we can now press enter when we are standing right next to it, and you can steer the thing with A and D, and W is for acceleration, and D is for brakes. So we have no ammo in our dinghy here, so let's change that. And let's see, something to shoot at. Ah, it's gosh darn dark here. Luckily we have flashlights here, and quite finicky to get into the firing range of the turret. So, if you press C, as you see there, you can also shoot at things. So the car can be used as a weapon. Due to its pretty strong propulsion, though, it can be sometimes quite hard to not destroy it. Pressing Enter gets you out of it again, and at the very least, you have a mobile inventory thing here again, and you can just put it into your pocket, but just mind you, if you do so, the entire car's content lands back into your pocket again. Wonderful. Just like I like it to see. So our military is working on out excellently. So let's check back with the map. So, well, so far, no luck. This is quite nasty, but it ain't the end of the day. So we're now going to get ourselves some heavy armor going. And we're going to... Is there enough time for it? Well, sort of. We're also going to start producing ourselves some hand grenades now. It's time for the nades, my boys. So, to make things easier, we're going to mix the steel onto the coal onto the steel build. So, we're going to go for... Oh boy, we need to handcraft too much. For the very first time, we also ran out of copper. Could you imagine? There we go. So, as it is clearly perceivable that we need to upgrade parts of our factory rather sooner than later, but let's put this down like that. So now we have a mixed build with coal and steel, which is quite excellent because that allows us to just place down yet another little assembler where we can make hand grenades. Hand grenades are awesome. They are powerful and they get stuff done for you. And they are really, really versatile weapons. But I think that is the end of today's episode. Because there's a couple of things that I want to prepare, but the next step, logically, is now to eradicate some biters up there. These guys up there keep attacking us constantly, and it is time to retaliate. So, well, what's left to say is thanks for watching. We are on a pretty good spot. If you made it this far, congratulations. Your base is pretty safe and secure. You now only need to get resources from the outside world back in your base. But we're obviously going to get towards that topic as well in the next few episodes. Leave me your comments, any questions, any inspirations, whatever's on your mind are welcome. And as usual, I want to say leave a thumbs up. It really helps a lot to make this series more visible, and consider subscribing. In the description box there is a playlist link, so if you want to see more of this series, you can find it there. So, see you all next time. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.